Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Turning One Marketing Dollar into 10. Excited to be here today with Irene Hyder, our head media buyer.
Hello, excited to be here too. Definitely going to be talking through how to set up an ad campaign and how to get a return on it.
Excellent, excellent. And 2020, this is the perfect year to be talking about how to look at advertising fundamentals, how to shift things around. There's some verticals where analytics are spiking, changes across the board right now. We're actually doing a digital conference. Took a break from the Tech Day online, have some of the attendees actually hopping into here. So excited to be doing this. I'm working remote as well too. If you don't see my normal background, that's why I was requested to show a different background to give you an idea of where we're at, but couldn't get the lighting quite right. So figured this would be a more appropriate setting. But as I mentioned, I am thrilled to have Irene Hyder on the line here today. Irene's been an amazing addition to the team over the past 2 years, has worked on over 100 equity crowdfunding campaigns, has a background stemming from SEO, search engine optimization, search engine marketing. Some of the top Google results I've seen to date have been from Irene, but she is now the master at Facebooking. She's going to show you all of the different secrets today. Irene, you want to share a little bit about yourself and why Facebook has been such a valuable tool for your campaigns?
Yeah, definitely. I started with DNA about 2.5 years ago. And we definitely our primary focus has been equity crowdfunding, and we see a lot of return on Facebook and Instagram channels. So kind of learned the ins and outs of that, consistently running equity crowdfunding campaigns on those channels, seeing results. Our average campaigns are between 5 to 10x return on ad spend. So it's been definitely the driving force for our marketing campaigns.
And not just our campaigns, Facebook's looked at as the focal point for digital marketing, beyond digital advertising, digital marketing as a whole for the AI that's behind it. And I'm going to pull up the deck that we've created. Damaris Morse, our head of content marketing, has worked on this in the past month since our webinar together, actually, and excited to show you what we have going on here. It's thorough. It's in depth. It's something you could share with your internal teams, with your investors, with whoever it is that you're having marketing conversations with about today. And turning one marketing dollar into 10 stems from a common question that we get as an entrepreneurial marketing agency. We'll have clients come to us and say, hey, this is my marketing budget. I can't get another one. This has to produce the needed milestones, either to create the next budget from revenue, from investments, from some form of capital, or from hitting different types of benchmarks, different types of milestones where I could then go back to my investors and bring on more. But it's very performance oriented for those reasons. We feel comfortable operating in that capacity. Not all Facebook advertisers do, but that's the basis for this presentation. Oh, looks like my screen sharing has stopped here, but that's the basis for this presentation. That's why we're putting together essentially a direct response type of context on this marketing discussion. We're going to go through some different examples here. We're going to go through everything that you need to get set up. And then we're actually going to show a live demo. So little technical glitch back into the deck here. Here's who we are and what we do. Irene's been able to give you her intro. You've probably heard mine on different webinars, but as a whole for DNA, we've worked with over 400 brands, over 200 of which from investor acquisition, 9 figures of capital from those campaigns. Explaining that because that's why this matters. This is the exact format, the exact formula that we use to produce that type of return. So Irene, do you want to start and just tell us why Facebook advertisements and go through a few of these bullets here as you're, firsthand with your team inside the advertising manager every day?
Sure, yes. Well, Facebook is obviously the most used platform that there is currently and has been for some time now. So we definitely, see most of our audience is there. So just a couple of facts here: 1.49 billion members with 22 billion ad clicks per year on the platform. So that's huge. Facebook is obviously considered to be a top advertising channel with digital spends accounting for 51% of all total ad spend in US, which is obviously also huge. Facebook is very cost effective. Anybody could advertise on Facebook, from moms and pop shops to huge campaigns. It's very, the way you set it up is definitely could create a cost-effective campaign with returns on it. Facebook has simple setups. And you could get results fast, but it's all in the setup. We kind of want to make sure that you build up a solid foundation, and you could see some results initially. You could reach different audiences by interest. You could create different personas. You could customize everything. So it's definitely, it's a platform where you could reach people. You could identify personas. You could learn the data, and you could scale on a certain audience that you see performance around.
Yes, and your audience is on Facebook is my message to anyone curious about the power of it. Over 1 billion users per day, whether we're looking at accredited investors, whether we're looking at a very niche type of industry and a job title within it, we can target off that. They are scrolling on social. They are likely going to be more open to exploring, more open towards converting than on other channels. We have assumptions on which channels are going to perform best for any given campaign, but we let the analytics actually confirm that and determine where we're going to be focusing efforts thereafter. And it is consistently Facebook advertising. The equity crowdfunding portals say so. Other agencies, other groups do as well. Here's an example. And we're actually on our 4th round with this client, with Raycon. We worked on a Reg D that produced $2.83 million in funding from accredited investors. That's what Regulation D entails. We worked on this campaign, Reg A Plus, completed a full 1.07 million Reg CF in the spring. They have a new Reg CF campaign live here in the fall of 2020. With the extension, they're likely going to be able to raise 5 million there. Irene, could you share a bit about these metrics and what they mean, why they're so impactful?
Yeah, Rayton has been a client of ours for a long time, so we've been working with them. We know their campaign, we know their goals. For them particularly, their equity crowdfunding campaign, they're trying to raise capital to grow their business. They spent $653K with us. Your screen is a little bit wide. If we could kind of, okay, there you go. 1 second. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so they spent $653,000 on advertising. They got 3,300 investors. Their CPA is only 197. Typically, we see CPA between 150 to 250 for equity crowdfunding campaigns, and they raised 4.24 million. So their return on ad spend is huge. It's at 6.5x, and average investor invested $1,282. So their goal was 3x, and we over doubled it. So it's a huge campaign for us.
Exactly. And this has been a case study looked at industry-wide. As you can see, over 4.24 million from the Facebook advertising pixel directly. We have other case studies. Please feel free to reach out and learn about different types of issuers, groups issuing stock in your industry. We've had campaigns complete this year that have shown about 20 to 50% of a Reg CF campaign being produced from in advertising investor conversions. and the platform and their existing audiences, bringing additional investors as that momentum is showcased, as there's more and more being raised there, as well as press and other types of content marketing that are bringing the investors in. So this campaign we're looking at here, Facebook ads played a huge role in it, had an influencer, they posted, had over 4 million followers and got a great response, but we were able to continue run it to test the waters. And throughout the entire 12-month period of the Reg A Plus campaign, we were compared against different advertising agencies who popped in for a month, outperformed those. The majority of the campaign was over 10x as well. But looking at different market fluctuations and averaging it all out, we're still able to hit a cost per acquisition of each investor of under $200. So we're going to go over the 3 phases of a Facebook ad campaign here. From strategy, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, have everything mapped out beforehand. Onwards to setup, optimization. Not everything works right out of the gate. Even when it does, we want to improve the performance. Optimization and retargeting. That's where we really see the results, is when we're able to continue to reach the audiences again and again. Generally, somewhere between touch point 7 and 17 is where we see a conversion. So we want to be able to identify our audience, set the appropriate budget, design creatives and write ad copy for those audiences at those budgets. Audiences are crucial. We have our own first party data. We call it warm prospecting. We'll get into that a bit. We look for third party data, whether it's from Facebook, whether it's from a VC fund, a financial app, an accelerator, and looking to target their audiences with advertising without transferring ownership of data, just being able to run ads to a larger audience group. The audience is where it starts with, then into the creative, then into the funnel. Irene, do you want to talk about audiences a bit? Show what we're talking about in terms of some of the demographic information here, and give some hints in terms of what you're seeing the best results from?
Sure, yeah. We basically set up our campaign with 3 different objectives and audiences. We like to set up a warm audience where we target, what we call a warm audience, where we target our internal investor list, our first party data, and then our it could be anybody that we know could invest into similar campaigns. And then we have a cold prospecting where we target, which is kind of based on this slide, where we target our lookalike audiences, where we target personas, where it's interest-based, where whatever the opportunity is, plus the equity crowdfunding, narrow down. We find investors are between 35 to 50, so we definitely use age optimization when we're targeting. We do use location as well when we're building out those personas, and then gender leans to male, but we typically start with both to see what audience kind of enjoys this offering more. And yeah,
and it's important to emphasize that we A/B test everything. The campaign type, i.e. what we're optimizing towards, whether it's traffic, conversions, more about that later. The audiences, as Irene is clearly laying out here, the advertising creative, the analytics have to tell us where to allocate future spends, future pacing. So it's often an outlier, something that we weren't anticipating to be the top target. You want to keep an eye out for that. I could give you examples of all types of campaigns where the top audience would have never been in our strategy and audience personas. So you want to leave a wide enough net for that, while having comparables to be able to gauge where you're getting your key drivers from. Now, this next page I'll run through here. The only way to measure anything is with numbers. Media buying is all about the stats that you're going to be benchmarking and looking to reach. So when I get asked, how do you create a budget? What's an appropriate amount of advertising spend here? I could go at the Facebook recommended minimums of 50 a day, 50 a day per ad set is more appropriate, but 1,500 a month. We try not to run anything under 100, 200, 300 a day, and that still limits audiences. The key thing here, whether you have a starting budget that you're scaling into, is what you're looking for the advertising to actually produce. What is going to be meaningful to you? So establish your goals and work the metrics into an algorithm. We showed a starting ad budget here that is consistent with many of the portal's recommendations to test out advertising as a channel. We show a $10,000 starting ad budget with a $20 CPM. CPM, cost per thousand impressions, can range from $5 to $10 on the low end. Used to do this system, this algorithm with a $10 average CPM, but we do a lot of retargeting, so $30, $40 maybe more common on retargeting. It's a preliminary metric, but you want to have it average somewhere around $20, $10,000 per month, i.e. $333 per day, is going to give you 500,000 advertising impressions. A whole lot of people need to see your campaign to get a decent amount of investors. So this is designed to paint a picture. 500,000 impressions, if you're getting a 2% average click-through rate, which I may add is twice the Facebook average click-through rate of 1%, but we commonly run advertising campaigns in 2 to 5% levels. Just finished one that was at a 7% click-through rate with outstanding return on ad spend metrics in comparison to industry averages. So that gives you 10,000 clicks. Dollar cost per click, every dollar you spend, you're getting a new investor to your page. Could be repeat visit, but you're getting an investor to your page with every dollar. Now, if you get a 1% conversion rate, that is 100 conversions, 100 investors at $100 cost per acquisition each. Every $100 you spend, you're getting a new investor. Google says an average conversion rate is 2.35%. This type of average order value would suggest a lower conversion rate than averages. You could measure conversion rate at each checkout page, but this is fairly consistent with some of the campaigns we've seen. These days, we're shooting for $100 cost per acquisition. In the past, it was $150. We have case studies down there, $20 cost per acquisition and a 31x return on advertising spend. Have campaigns live today, well under $100, $100 CPA. If you look at a $750 in digital, it's called an AOV, average order value. That's a 7.5x return on ad spend. If you see a $1,500 lifetime value, and that could entail orders on your e-commerce site in future years, that could be a second investment. That could be peer-to-peer marketing, as that is a strong driver of new investors that are stimulated from advertising conversion investors and then share with their audiences, their friends, their family. You could be looking at more of a 15x value from these users, from these individuals. So these are conservative numbers in many stretches. We have AOVs that are over $2,500 on campaigns. We have some that are as low as $300. So this is the number we chose, and 5 to 10x is looked at as good. 10x and higher is looked at as strong results. 3 to 5 is looked at as okay. So this kind of paints the picture and shows you, if you want to hit a 1.07 million, a $5 million type budget, this is where you want to build your budgeting, by working into an algorithm. Next, we'd like to go on to creative. Irene, could you share your overview towards creative and how you've seen some of the strongest click-through rates and conversion rates?
Yeah, we like to make sure that the creative itself is specific to the audience that we're targeting. We definitely find the most success when we're targeting a specific audience with the ad copy itself and the creative that matches that persona, and then that's how we see high click-through rates. That's the first thing that we do. We obviously speak differently to each audience. If it's just an investor audience, we like to use a lot of market opportunity language around what the returns potentially could be in that industry and so forth. If it's an interest-based, we like to use just the offering intro to get them interested in the offering and show why this could be a good opportunity. We also, our thing is definitely keeping the ad copy simple. We don't want to overbear it with a lot of text and paragraphs and make it too much. It is a Facebook ad, it is an Instagram ad, it is a ad on a social channel. So it's hard to keep the attention, going of this potential investors if you don't keep it sharp and, straight to the point. So we'd definitely like to compile a strong message into one sentence, a strong call to action. And this is actually a really good example of an ad. It plays on emotion. It talks about good news as the first thing. Then it kind of tells the audience what they want out of you, shows a cool creative, keeps it, captured, and then the CTAs pay off your loans faster. So it's what people obviously want. So this ad definitely is a good example of a good, what we would consider to be a good ad. We like to build urgency around our ads, especially with equity crowdfunding campaigns. When the raises come to an end, we like to have countdown ads. We like to have different ads and remarketing to show momentum, to show milestones, to show as simple as, an investor, the CEO talking to their investors, thanking them for making the investment, get engaging. We like to keep showing engagement in our ads, and especially in our remarketing. And we're constantly testing the copy and, seeing what works for that particular offering. But we definitely play on the words and try to get most out of our audiences.
Yes. And I can't emphasize enough social proof and third-party validation.
Definitely. Yeah.
You saw the example of Rayton Solar. We used Bill Nye. Irene, you worked on a campaign recently that had 4 different investors on a Zoom call that showed excellent response rates. We've had CEOs, founders record real raw, real low production style video of themselves talking. Here is where we're currently at, showcasing momentum and providing those updates. I don't want to say more is more, because you have to have a large enough sample size. You have to have conclusive data from any of these creatives before you shut them off, or you could be missing the mark and stopping things before the performance is really there. But it is important to be able to have fresh advertising, creative, looking for evergreen type content that you're running over and over again, and then new creatives to filter in each week, each 2 weeks, each month, all highly relevant in terms of the new partnerships you've taken on as an issuer, your total raise amount, publishers that have featured you, anything that you can do to show that type of validation truly goes a long way. I've seen issuers invite investors to comment on the ad itself and have a high volume, over 100 of different investors comment on the ad itself, and how that feeds into the individual user's algorithms, how that feeds into the page's algorithm, into Facebook's advertising preferences in terms of what they're showing next in their auctions. So a lot of different possibilities for creative here.
And testimonials. I think definitely testimonials is they work. We see investors talking about why they invested, whether it was, a decision based on, bettering the world, or it's a good feel good ad when there's a good testimonial behind it. Along with publications, I always constantly suggest, recommend my clients to publish publish themselves in something. So I could use it in an ad. I could use as seen on Forbes, as seen on Entrepreneur, and different, publications, and those ads see a lot of success as well, because there's weight behind them.
People do not believe what they see online. You want to create that line around the block feeling. You want to mimic the peer-to-peer marketing that could occur post-ad, and be able to give the audience something to share with their friends. Oh, all these publishers are covering it. There's something going on here. They just put on these type of partnerships. You do not want an empty restaurant sensation. If you're able to show external groups that are speaking positively about your brand, about your offering, it can mean all the difference in terms of advertising performance.
Yep, great.
Design your creatives and ad copy. Here is another example. Here are some best practices. Use real photos over stock. Everyone has access to stock, and the library is available on Facebook. It is not difficult to create different types of video, photo, collateral that can be used in these advertising formats. just spoke about a founder filming himself with his iPhone, and that ad produced hundreds of investments. You use real people over animations, use video as much as possible, use investor customer testimonials, design images for specific audiences. If you're beginning with, let's say, 4 to 10 audiences, creating 2 to 6 advertising creatives for each, you can take a block of 2 to 6 advertising creatives and customize the messaging so it sounds more specific. This could be as simple as listing the city that they're from and making it feel more personalized. Could be far more complex and involve various types of Facebook data targeting and determining what messaging is going to work best for them. Design images for specific audiences can't be said enough. Drive different type of ads, vertical, slideshow, etc. There's always new formats that are available through Facebook, through Instagram to test out. A/B test multiple different designs to see where you're getting the best performance. And we're going to walk through this. Irene, do you want to just talk about why there's traffic and why there's retargeting and the overall concept on the necessity for both?
Yeah, you can't have a remarketing campaign if there's no traffic going to your site. That's for starters. But traffic is basically your whole entire audience going into your landing page, and how we set it up. We basically create different audiences and different personas, and then we send them all to the landing page, and then we remarket to them. Your remarketing size really matters. The bigger it is, the less you're going to pay for, average metrics. In traffic campaigns, we, see low cost per click, high click-through rates, and it's more, to get people there, and then we convert them in remarketing. So Jason always says it takes about 7 to 17 touch points for a person to become an investor or a purchaser, or anybody who, definitely makes the next step. So traffic is super important. And the goal here is to get traffic that's relevant to your campaign. You want to make sure that the traffic is going to convert. So you have to, really be specific with what kind of audiences you're targeting. So that definitely goes into the strategies phase. And we like to target 6 to 8 audiences to start. And then we basically send it all to our remarketing campaign and then target off of that.
And, I use this wording of as a rule of thumb. As a rule of thumb, the larger the retargeting pool, the stronger your advertising performance is going to be. When I was first taught about programmatic advertising in the world of ad tech, I was shown that it is all in the retargeting. So that is the game we play here. We're going to get a lower cost per click from traffic, going to get a higher conversion rate from retargeting. Facebook's algorithm is going to favor you to a stronger degree if you're getting more conversions on your conversion campaign than less. They're going to favor your ad for various purposes. So why don't we go through a live demo here? And Irene, going to pull up I'm going to give you the user screen here and be able to allow you to pull up your screen, and we can physically talk through what it takes. The intention here is to show how straightforward it can be. There's a saying about Facebook advertising. Would actually like to quote Frank Fausto here. Frank was at Google for over 12 years, heading up the ads product. I've had the privilege of sharing the stage with him on multiple panels, I think in 3 different cities now. I was recently on our podcast, Test Optimize Scale. And he says driving a Ferrari is a good analogy towards Facebook advertising, where anyone could hop in and do it. But the capabilities are really going to be unlocked if you have a professional driver in there, someone who understands the engines. And our thought process here is, if we show you how we set something up, we can give you a few of those expert moves that you could test out the next time you're driving your Ferrari. So Irene, what are we looking at here? This is the business settings page. And basically, you could just create a new ad account by pressing that add button there, right?
Right. So this is this is where we start everything. This is where all of our accounts lay. Our people that are, could access the accounts, our partners, our audiences, and everything that we need in one place. This is our kind of hub. So we create a new account, and then we start the work process. I'm not going to create a new account right now, but I'll definitely show you how
Sure.
to set up a campaign. So once you create an ad account, it falls into the ad account, and then you open it inside of the ads manager and give whoever you need permission to view it or work out of it. So right now we're going to be opening up a new ad account that is currently running, and we're going to show how to set up an ad campaign through it. Okay. So the first thing that we do, we create a brand new campaign. So we click on the create button, and then we have to determine a goal right away, whether it's traffic or conversion campaign that we're going after. Right here is where you consider your goal, whether it's traffic or conversion. Conversion campaign is where we see the investments coming in, and traffic campaign is where we obviously want to build the remarketing pool out of. So we're going to start off with traffic campaign. We're going to press continue. On this section, we want to name the campaign. So we could name it traffic persona. And then the next phase, we basically edit the budget here. We could put, let's just say $20 a day just to start. And you press next, and then you go into your audience. And here is where you create your audience. So you want to make sure that you name your audience in this box, which would be, let's just say, equity we just named, so we know who exactly we're targeting. You could set a schedule here, and then you could start, your editing process of the people that you want to go after. We did say, we see investors between 35 to 50. So you could set up the age here between 35 and 50. Here you could set up a location. We're going to keep it in United States. Here you could, start off with gender targeting. We did say males invest more, but we're going to leave it open. And here is where you could set up your, targeting of based on interest. And for example, this is, a huge, it's almost 1 million people audience. So we're going to choose this audience. You can always narrow it down by different audiences too. So you could put it, accredited, for example, investors, right? So you could definitely narrow it down by here. You could also narrow it down by people that have not visited our site. So we could do browse, not here, exclude. And then we could create a different audience based on that. I don't know why it's not giving me that option
that looks
here.
like the potential reach is 18,000 individuals. You started at 1 million or so from equity crowdfunding. I think that's a great audience. I've heard from clients of, hey, shouldn't we be going after more people? Obviously, we're going to A/B test, so we're going to show how we duplicate and create more audiences here, that everyone can do at home. But what are your thoughts of an audience size of 18,000? What are your thoughts of, overall audience ranges where we're getting a strong enough percentage of that audience to physically see the ad?
I think that's a good audience size. I think that bigger audiences do perform better. We see, lower CPMs, higher click-through rates if it's the right type of audience. And, you want to be in that mark for traffic. You don't want it to be too specific. You don't want it to be too broad. So you want to stay inside of those greens. So it's definitely, I see a lot of success just making sure that I stay within the green range. You also could, Facebook did temporarily take out household income, but they put it back in. So you could target based off target of household income too. So yeah, the more you narrow it down, the better. So definitely spend a lot of time here, figure out your personas, make sure it's all aligned, and you're ready to go when you're actually implementing it. The next phase, you could choose the placement. So Facebook recommends automatic placement. It is a business, so they definitely want to make money off of you advertising on their channels. So you do want to choose manual placement and kind of set it up where you think that you'll see the most results. We typically do Facebook and Instagram, and take it off of other audience networks and Messenger, as we kind of see best results there. But you could test out automatic placement and see where what it looks like for you. If you see results on apps and audience networks, then sure, run it. But if you see most of your traffic and conversions are coming from Facebook and Instagram, you want to kind of make sure that that's optimized towards that. The next step is what exactly you're optimizing for. You could do link clicks, you could do landing page views. I like to do landing page views because I feel like you're gonna drive more, the Facebook algorithm is gonna pick up better traffic versus just link clicks. So that's a good setup there. And then the next step is where you have to create the fun little ad to get things rolling. So you name the ad. I actually have a pulled up example on how I do it, just so you guys could see what's the easiest to do. I create the ads inside of a spreadsheet, so it's easy for me to copy and paste it, and then I'll link the creative inside of the spreadsheet too, so I could easily download it and upload it. So it's more simpler process for me. So for this copy, let's say we're gonna do milestone ad, right? And this is the client that we had a case study around. So we put it this as the ad name. Then we choose the page that we're targeting off of. And then it'll automatically pull the Facebook and Instagram account. It just takes a second. The next phase is we're going to upload an image. So we would go here and we would download it. I need to move Jason. Jason's, your face is blocking my download button. All right, so we would download the image. It's okay, it's all good. And then we would upload that image. That's my kid. That won't work. Okay, so it's not letting me, but I'm gonna pull up a different image just so I could show you guys how to do it. So we would put up
for the image. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so not to hold us back, you basically upload an image or a video in this part, whatever works for you. And then you copy the text, which is headline, not the headline, but something that you want to make sure stands out. It's it's going to show on this phase.
Often about the company and or product for equity crowdfunding. This is the copy that appears above the image or video.
Yep. And then
this copy talks about the opportunity.
Exactly. You talk about this is the call to action right here. So you want to make sure it's strong and gets people to convert. And then you also have space for a small description of what you're promoting. So you want to put that over here. Sometimes it's going to make the image cropped out. So you want to make sure that you unselect that setting so it doesn't look. Right here, you want to unselect it so it kind of fits into the. Facebook is very easy with creative. So if you have a creative, they'll definitely work with you on making sure that it fits and it looks good on all the placements. You could view how it looks on different placements. So this would be Instagram feed. Then you could see how it looks on a story. Furthermore, you could create a separate campaign for Instagram placement. So, you have specific ads that go there. Here you want to put in the You want to put in
You could
the
put the
actual URL?
URL, and you could add a UTM, a unique tracking code from
exactly.
Google. If you want to be able to have it show up in Google Analytics, you want to make sure that first click, last click, and overall tracking window fits the Facebook pixel tracking window, although.
And straight from this phase, you could build the URL parameters. So you could put in DNA as, you know, let's say we wanted to start to know the source or Rayton to know that it came from DNA. We would put the campaign ID here. We could make it also, the UTM matters because we could also add, when we're doing persona targeting, we could use separate messaging for those parameters for different UTMs. So we could, you know, UTMs really do work. So, you know, we set up the little UTM here, it applies. So now it appears to be like this. We double check our work to make sure there's no errors, and then we publish it. And then that's how you set up your traffic campaign. And then you expand it further and further inside of the audiences, which I'll show you guys right now. Once it publishes it.
And when Irene is setting up these campaigns, those tabs right there, campaigns, ad sets, ads, you know, can duplicate and then make adjustments from there to streamline the setup. And then same's true for the advertisements themselves, the creative to then customize for each audience.
Yeah, so we would basically duplicate this is the ad set level. You just have to look at it as different audiences. So campaign is the objective, ad sets is the audiences that you're targeting, and ads is, you know, you want to put as many ads as you want to test out. But here you would duplicate the audience, you would make it into existing campaign, which is this one, traffic persona. You could, you know, you'll have different options where you could put it. Let's say you want to plug it into conversions, you'll be able to do that, but you want to do it here. And then you would basically rename this audience and then create a separate ad that, you know, goes towards that audience. So that's kind of how you set up a live demo, the live campaign.
Yeah. And, you know, feel free to ask us questions as you are setting any of this up. Irene, you want to hand me back the controls and we'll finish up the deck here?
Yes.
And hold on, I could actually do it from my side. I am now the host. I'm going to pull up the deck. Also, as you're setting up your campaigns, important to look at custom audiences. So
yes,
we have our own first party audiences, as we mentioned. We'd recommend setting up for retargeting. We'd recommend setting up lookalikes. We recommend looking at your Facebook page audience in addition to your site retargeting, your email audience, anywhere you can to be able to build that retargeting pool, as we've touched on how impactful those simple edits could be just by going after a group that already knows you. I'm going to talk about how to optimize, have some steps here about how to optimize for scale, and just speaking about retargeting as a whole, and going to make this deck available for everyone. We will be going a bit over our 45-minute window here, so feel free to reach out if you have any questions. We like to position ourselves into these conversations as thought leaders, love talking marketing, so don't be bashful. Feel free to shoot over any thoughts that you may have. When optimizing, you basically want to put together 3 to 7 days or 1,000 clicks or more of data before you start shutting off audiences or ads. You could optimize in the following order, starting at the creative level, moving to the audience level, then to the campaign. So whether it's traffic, whether it's retargeting, later can even look at channels, Facebook versus others, but you don't want to skip any steps there. You do not want to just shut off Facebook before you have optimized all these different points. You don't want to shut off a traffic campaign until it's been optimized at all these different stages. Here is a 1 through 15 guide of what that looks like, where you're beginning with 4 to 10 audiences. You are running 2 to 6 ad creatives. You run for 3 to 7 days or 1,000 clicks. Then you analyze the impressions, the clicks, the conversions, the 3 stages of the algorithm: impressions, clicks, conversions, along with the retargeting pool and how that's growing, and report. You optimize each creative. You want to optimize at the creative level first. Then from there, run it again for another test period. Then start reallocating spends at the creative level. So you start shutting off creatives that work, that don't work. Next, you run for an additional 3 to 7 days, 1,000 clicks per creative. You move to the audience level, run it again, scale the budget and performance every 3 to 7 days or 1,000 clicks. That's what our clients are asking us the most, is how do we scale? Great, we're hitting $100 cost per acquisition, but how do we get higher volumes of investors? We don't want to just see 5K, 10K in investments this week. We want to see 20. We want to see 100. How do we get to these higher levels? We follow this roadmap. We don't simply just increase the spend levels. You want to narrow it down to individual pockets of performance. Maybe there's an age group, a geolocation, a device type, even gender in some cases that is showing stronger performance. You could narrow that down, duplicate, create an ad set just for that. Continually test new audiences simultaneously, in addition to historical drivers, but that way your hands aren't tied to a campaign that's no longer working. And continue to scale every 3 to 7 days, 1,000 clicks or test period. I'm gonna leave this page for audiences that want to follow up with us. This is about Facebook retargeting. This is about setting up your Facebook advertising pixel. Pretty straightforward in an equity crowdfunding platform, as you're generally just posting the Facebook pixel ID onto the back end or an open field. You may need a developer if this campaign is running directly on your page. We work with Reg A Plus campaigns, Reg D campaigns that are not running on a portal but through their own site. It can be more of a complex process as we have to tag each event from each page that the audiences go through, completing with the confirmation page after an investment has taken place. And then have some different Facebook audience concepts here before getting to these final thoughts. Irene, do you want to go through a few of these, or any different tactics that you could recommend as somewhat advanced Facebook strategies for any listeners that are sophisticated media buyers and looking to try out something new on their campaigns?
Yeah, I mean, structure is everything. I can't stress enough how important it is to set up campaign properly. You want to set it up in, number one point here is prospecting and conversion. So prospecting is, where you're going to create those personas for them to convert inside of your marketing conversion campaign. So you want to spend a lot of time identifying your audiences, or, using your data, like pixel data on the previous, page, where you could target off of lookalike audiences, where we see really good performance out of. I see a lot of success in our campaigns through lookalike audiences, so definitely utilize lookalikes. Facebook algorithm works perfectly with these goal campaigns, and we see huge returns around there. There's different goals and different campaign goals that you could choose. So lead format ads work really well as well. So you could definitely, set up your objective to be leads, and then target different, same personas, but to different objective. You could test out different products, different formats. It's just all about testing things out and getting, figuring out what works for you.
Excellent. And it's important to test out new Facebook products when they come out. Seek out third-party data partnerships. A portion of my week every week is around these relationships alone, and they have been some of those valuable additions to our Facebook advertising campaigns, which is why we continue to do it. There are different sayings of using other platforms, existing audiences, as a shortcut to get to levels of performance if you don't have an existing investor base. So a lot to explore there. Request trials to new creative formats. There's always new options for this. Explore strategies to develop large retargeting pools. For instance, run a video view campaign. You may see a 1 cent per view, and for 10K can build a 1 million person retargeting pool versus a 10,000 person retargeting pool at $1 per click. A lot of different tricks that you can do. Understand your bid power based on budget, timeline, click-through rate, conversion, and other metrics that will play a role in your win rate and overall metrics. Different things to adjust around that so that you have stronger metrics to come to that auction place of Facebook advertising with. Create themed social pages, publications or brands to advertise your product from multiple narratives and compounding scale, i.e. running top new startups, private equity dads, private equity moms, private equity college students, equity crowdfunding investors, whatever it may be. We'll often do this for a specific campaign and build up that audience. It appears that it's coming from publisher page. A lot of advantages to this. Good thing to A/B test. Focus on reach, traffic, and frequency metrics to develop a replicable user journey, which may require 7 to 17 touch points. And do not stop campaigns early. There's been campaigns that we've worked on that saw 0 conversions within the first 3 weeks. By week 6, they were surpassing all performance benchmarks, including that $100 acquisition cost of each investor. If they would have shut things off 3.5 weeks in, they would have taken a loss. And more importantly, they would not have had that traffic source available to them. They would not have been able to scale, which they did post week 6. So please take that story and share it if any individuals are looking to gauge Facebook advertising performance in the first week. Final thoughts, Facebook ads can work for you. Facebook ads can scale your marketing budget. Remember to test, optimize, scale. That is our whole philosophy towards marketing, our whole philosophy towards Facebook advertising. And Irene, thank you for sharing all these insights with us today. If you could leave the audience with one thing, one piece of info, what would it be?
Continue to test. Don't give up on advertising on Facebook and Instagram. Just continue to see what works for you and scale on it.
Excellent, excellent. And everyone, just want to let you know how modest Irene is here, literally producing millions of dollars in investments for our issuers month over month. So, don't take these different recommendations lightly. Even if you know a few of these things, common knowledge is not always common practice. And that's true with Facebook advertising as well. So really take a look at your strategy, lift up the hood, see if all these different pieces are working. Irene, if anyone wants to get in contact with you directly, what is your preferred method of communication?
Email. So my email would be the best way, Irene@digitalnicheagency.com. Email me with any questions you have. I'm quick to reply and would love to give some insight.
Excellent, excellent. And thanks for taking the time to log in. I love the office setting that you have, very Don Draper with the bar in the background and the family pictures. And for all listeners, hope this has been helpful to you. If you have any requests for topics that you'd like us to cover in future webinars, again, please reach out, hop on our site, send it over. We are collaborative. And thanks for tuning in today. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Take care.
Thank you.